Ever notice how some people just seem to absolutely crush it? Like they're hitting these huge goals and they have this like unshakable belief in themselves. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. They have this aura almost, like nothing can stop them.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, right? Like, what's their secret? What if we could actually, I don't know, intentionally create that kind of focus and belief for ourselves?
It is a fascinating question. I mean, think about it. We're always being influenced by the world around us, right?
Yeah,
By the people we talk to, the things we read, all of it.
all the time.
So maybe, just maybe, we can be more deliberate about that, more
Hmm.
intentional about shaping our own thinking.
That's precisely what I've been exploring. It's this, well, kind of radical approach to personal growth. It actually borrows a few strategies from, let's call them groups that inspire a ton of devotion.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Right, because think about how those groups, the ones that really foster intense belief, operate. They have these very specific ways of reinforcing their ideas. And the idea here is, what if we took those same principles, not to manipulate anyone else, but to kind of, I don't know, supercharge our own growth, like really lock in on the success and the happiness we want.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. It's about harnessing the power of belief, but directing it inwards for self-improvement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the really interesting part is, this person I was reading about, they broke it down into four main tactics. Now, on the surface, they sound a little out there.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, we're talking about stuff like um, building up this strong internal resistance to anything that goes against your goals, like a complete aversion.
Interesting.
And then there's this idea of really getting laser focused with your information intake, like being super selective about what you let into your mental space.
Okay, so really controlling your information diet.
Exactly. And then it gets even wilder. There's this idea of being super careful about who you share your ambitions with, like keeping your goals kind of secret.
Oh, so like protecting your vision from outside influence.
Yes. And finally, the most direct one, this idea of actively stopping negative thoughts in their tracks, just completely shutting them down.
Wow, okay. So these are definitely not your typical self-help tips.
Not at all. But that's what makes them so compelling, right? It's like flipping the script on how we usually approach personal growth. And as I started digging into each one, I started to see how powerful these techniques could actually be. It's like taking the reins of your own mind.
Like taking control of the narrative that's playing in your head. I like it.
So let's jump into the first one. This idea of developing this strong aversion to, well, anything that contradicts your goals. And I want to be clear, it's not about disliking people who aren't on the same path, right? It's more about recognizing the mindsets and lifestyles that would actually prevent you from reaching your goals.
Yeah.
And then like building up this internal no way response to them.
It's almost like training your intuition. Like if your goal is, let's say, to be a top athlete, you might start feeling a natural aversion to things that would sabotage that goal. Like, I don't know, constantly eating junk food or being a couch potato.
Right. It's like your body's saying, hey, this isn't going to get us to the Olympics.
Hmm.
The person I was reading about, they used the example of financial freedom. So for them, the non-believer mindset was like the typical 9 to 5 grind,
Yeah.
living paycheck to paycheck, never really getting ahead.
Scarcity mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea was to cultivate this almost visceral feeling of, nope, absolutely not, whenever they even considered those options. It's about making those paths feel totally unappealing on a fundamental level.
It makes sense when you think about it. Our emotions are powerful motivators. Like that feeling of aversion, it can be a signal that says, hey, this is leading you away from what you want. And if you can link that feeling to the things that could sabotage your goals, it becomes this like internal guidance system.
It's like this automatic warning light that goes off. The person I was reading about, they even described this technique where they picture the ops, the people living the life they were trying to avoid whenever they found themselves slipping into bad habits.
Like if they were procrastinating instead of working on their business.
Exactly. And they said it was like this mental slap in the face, this wave of, I don't know, disgust almost, that would snap them right back into focus. Like, nope, not going down that road.
It's really clever. It's like associating the things you don't want with a really unpleasant image or feeling, and your brain starts to automatically steer you away from them.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
again, this isn't about judging other people, right? It's purely an internal strategy. It's about harnessing the power of negative emotions to motivate yourself.
I like that. Repurposing negativity for positive growth.
Right. Okay. So we've got this internal no to the things that don't align with our goals. Now let's move on to the second tactic, information isolation. And I got to say, this one initially sounded kind of extreme to me, but the more I thought about it,
Well, let's hear it. What's the idea here?
It's about getting really intentional about the information you allow into your mental space, and particularly filtering out anything that contradicts your goals or the reality you're trying to create.
So it's about being selective about what you read, what you watch, who you talk to.
Precisely. And this makes sense when you think about how groups that foster really intense belief often operate, right? They kind of create this controlled information environment.
It's about protecting the members from outside influences that might challenge their beliefs.
Exactly. And the idea here is, can we apply that same principle to our own personal growth? Like, can we create a mental environment that supports our goals and aspirations?
So it's like building a mental fortress against negativity and limiting beliefs.
Yes. This person described being really ruthless about their information diet, like actively filtering out anything that promoted negativity or limiting beliefs around their goals. So, like, if their goal was to build a successful business and someone started going on about how most businesses fail, they would just consciously tune it out.
Not giving those negative ideas any space to take root.
Exactly. Or if someone was constantly complaining about how hard everything is, to just disengage from that conversation is about protecting your mental energy.
We only have so much bandwidth, right? So why waste it on negativity and doubt? It's about focusing on information that empowers you, that reinforces your beliefs and fuels your motivation.
They use this analogy of creating a targeted playlist. Like if you're trying to cultivate a wealth mindset, you probably wouldn't spend all day listening to songs about being broke and struggling. You'd be more intentional about it.
Yeah.
Right? You'd create a playlist that reinforces abundance and possibility.
Absolutely. It's about feeding your mind with the kind of content that aligns with your goals and aspirations.
They even mentioned actively avoiding their uncle's endless stream of, like, doomsday predictions. They're like, nope, not letting that into my mental space.
It's funny, but it makes a point. We have a choice in what we expose ourselves to. And the information we consume, it shapes our thinking, it influences our beliefs, it impacts our actions.
Big time. So by being more intentional about our information intake, we can create a more supportive internal environment for our goals to flourish.
It's like creating a mental greenhouse for your dreams.
I love that. Okay, so now we're getting into even more unconventional territory. Tactic number 3, keep cult business in the cult.
All right, this one definitely sounds intriguing. What's the idea here?
It's about being super selective about who you share your big goals and ambitions with, especially in the early stages. It's kind of like those groups that keep their core beliefs and plans really internal.
Okay, so why the secrecy? What's the thinking behind that?
Well, think about it. New ideas, big dreams, they're often pretty fragile in the beginning, right? And sharing them prematurely with people who might be skeptical or who just don't get your vision.
It can be like pouring cold water on a tiny flame.
Exactly. Like their doubts and criticisms, even if they're well-intentioned, can really sap your energy and make you start questioning yourself.
And sometimes people's limitations become our own if we're not careful. Like someone who's never taken a big risk might project their own fears onto your vision, not because they're mean, but because they can't even imagine it being possible.
This person talked about how they used to be totally open about their ideas, sharing everything with everyone.
I can relate to that.
Right. But they found that all the questions and concerns, all the reasons why things wouldn't work, it actually started to hold them back.
It's like having your energy constantly drained by negativity and doubt.
Exactly. So they made a conscious decision to keep their desired reality more private, to protect their dreams until they were strong enough to stand on their own.
I love that image. It's like nurturing a seedling in a safe place until it's ready to be transplanted into the world.
They told this story about excitedly sharing a business idea with a friend, and the friend immediately came back with, like, 47 reasons why it wouldn't work. 47. Can you imagine?
Oof. Talk about a buzzkill.
Right. So it's about choosing your confidants wisely. It's about protecting your vision from those who might unintentionally dim your light.
It's about being strategic with who you share your energy with. And honestly, sometimes that means keeping things close to the vest for a while.
Absolutely. Okay, ready for the final and maybe most radical tactic.
Hit me with it.
Thought stopping.
Okay, that sounds intense.
It is. It's about actively interrupting and dismissing any thoughts that contradict your desired reality or introduce doubt, like literally hitting the mental mute button.
Interesting. So how does that work in practice?
The person I was reading about, they said whenever a negative thought would pop up, like, you're not good enough or this will never work, they would immediately shut it down. They'd say things like, that's interesting but not helpful right now, or even just, nope, moving on.
So no dwelling on the negative thoughts, no trying to analyze them, just straight up dismissing them.
Exactly. And they emphasized how crucial it is to do this immediately, like before the thought has a chance to take hold. It's about breaking the pattern of letting negativity spiral out of control.
So it's like building a mental muscle
Hmm?
for redirecting your attention.
Yes. And they found that over time, the more consistently they did this, the less frequently those negative thoughts would even appear. It's like they were retraining their brain to default to a more positive and empowered state.
So it's like rewiring your internal circuitry for success.
I like that. And again, this isn't about denying reality or pretending challenges don't exist. It's about choosing where you focus your energy.
Right. It's about consciously choosing to focus on solutions rather than getting bogged down in problems. It's about cultivating a mindset that supports your goals rather than sabotages them.
Exactly. So when you put all four of these tactics together, this whole concept of intentional self-brainwashing is really about taking radical responsibility for your own mind. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in how we shape our internal world.
It's a powerful idea. It's like saying, I'm not going to let external influences dictate my thoughts and beliefs. I'm going to consciously create the mental environment that supports my goals and aspirations.
It makes you think, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if we could all be more intentional about the thoughts we allow ourselves to dwell on, the information we consume, the people we surround ourselves with?
It's an invitation to become the architects of our own inner landscapes, to cultivate the kind of mindset that empowers us to achieve our goals and live our best lives.
And it starts with awareness, right? Just noticing the kind of self-talk that's happening in our heads, paying attention to the information we're taking in, and being mindful of who we're sharing our dreams with.
It's about making conscious choices that support our growth and align with our deepest desires.
And maybe, just maybe, it's the key to unlocking that unshakable belief, that unwavering conviction that we see in those people who are absolutely crushing it.
It's a fascinating path to explore. And who knows, it might just lead us to our own extraordinary achievements.
So as you go about your day, pay attention. Listen to that voice in your head. What's it telling you? And what choices are you making that either support or sabotage your dreams?
Because you have the power to choose. You have the power to shape your reality,
Yeah.
and it all starts with the thoughts you allow yourself to think.
Food for thought, right?
Hmm.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
Mhm.
Until next time,
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
take care.
You too.